Yes.
Yes, Sassy Tuesday.
What?
Sassy Tuesday.
Well, it depends. Are you going to be a sassy this Tuesday?
I just actually that's not
No, it is not. You're the you jelly.
actually you guys sometime this week. We can't cycle this. Says through Friday, June 7th, when we're asking, you're talking about Monday, June 8th, but that's not Monday, it's Saturday. Sure. One person to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta say.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. I know that took a lot.
It did.
I'm tired. It has been a long week. No nap hot. I only did it that one time. It was because I was desperate. I should have been What? One of those weeks. One of those weeks. I feel like haven't heard the stories of my Oh, I would have it on paper. Yeah, me too. Like, I know it's still like, I think it was on. Okay, yeah, I feel better. Like I sat at work last night, and I just spent the time like at the very couch, just like. At least you tried. Like I opened my computer and that's on down
I started my code, it's like,
It's
just so easy. Like, it's just like, I just don't know what else in it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
No, Aaron, you're wrong. You're good. But I'm not here for
Oh, good time.
I just have a time and confidence in myself to like do it. Well, no, I just I think good stuff, but it's like I feel like sitting down and like just doing it from the top of my head, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's completely.
Yeah, it's getting better. That's what
Just like, I feel like I just wish that I got the hours into these colors. This is the exact color, so 6, 7.
Like, oh,
Yeah, sort of. So like they buy in their website, like ever since I've been ordering, the primary website is not
it's not a lot.
yes. Yeah.
No, that's pretty easy.
Okay.
Oh, that's, yeah, I got one that runs like on the, it's like one of the, it's like the, yeah, okay. Yeah. It's like, it's a, a lot? Yeah. Let's see. No, it's in here somewhere. At least you have. I feel very lucky. They try to still put it in office. Oh, really? So everyone have a pixel phone? It can come in like,
Oh, no, the rules change.
email for the last 15 years. No, you did not. I like security. What I started 4 weeks ago. Should just be like, okay, but it's great. $100 to look at my project. Genius.
What? That is genius.
It's literally just like you and $100.
$100. Oh,
$100.
that sounds like it's costing me money.
Exactly.
I think it's a little twisted.
No.
I shouldn't be the one that gets screwed over in that process, and that's what I feel like is happening. Ah.
Your failure to stuff me yet again.
Include that in the exit ticket. He yet fails to stuff me one more time. Keep everyone on their toes. On the toes. You pay me. They pay me good money to stump you. Okay. Like right back up. I feel like it's been forever since you sat there. Is it like the first or second day? You were like right there. Like boom. Come in the full circles. Oh.
No. Unacceptable. You already have it situated.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
How can you? No one could understand. What is $20 gonna save?
$20.
Yeah.
I think you're missing it. It's saving the boys $20. She's like, I don't care. I'll throw my gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blow that on anything. You know? Yeah. That's a drink at a fancy. If they go on a date and they buy the person a drink, they just blew more than $20. But it's what it is. All right. So you should create them an app or something. Create them an app. What are we doing today? Today is conditional logic. Conditional logic. And conditional logic is really this. If something is true, do the thing. Else, do the other thing. Okay. This is the most basic conditional logic. And we do this all day. Hey, if the store is open, go into the store. Else, if either go home or go to another store. If that store is closed, order online. At some point in time, there's some like defaults. I don't know what to do. So that's it. I'm heading off, right? So this conditional logic is something you use all the time, every day, and it is key to coding. You have to know this to code. There's no way around it. That's like saying variables. If you don't know variables, you can't do JavaScript. If you don't know a function, you can't do JavaScript. So we have to cover if else conditional logic. There's a whole slew of ways to do conditional logic. Else if is one of those ways to do it. Okay? We only have time to really kind of go into one. Maybe I can demo another one. And then we're going to implement a for loop. Okay? This is a type of loop. So for is a type of loop, and a loop is like iterating over a thing, right? If the box has 10 things, and you are supposed to grab each thing and do something with it, well, you're looping, right? Grab the thing, do the thing. Grab the thing, do the thing. In JavaScript, we have container type objects. Okay, right now we've been working with like, you know, what type of data type is this? I don't know, it's a string, right? We know that that's a string, right? What type of data type is that? A number, right? Okay, so this is really a string, pretty self-explanatory. And this is really a number. And we've been kind of working with these two things now pretty consistently, right? Maybe not the numbers as much. We've seen strings, we've seen this, we've seen functions, which are also types of things. But JavaScript has, now, this is how you kind of like store little pieces of data using these things. But there's other ways to aggregate information. One of those is an array. Well, we're going to cover this today and demo what an array is at a basic level. We're going to use the array as part of a loop, because I'm not really going to loop over a string, right? You can loop over a string, but you don't really. I'm not going to loop 10, number 10. I might loop 10 times, and I'm not going to loop 10. It's one thing. If you have one thing, it's hard to loop over one thing. So I need many things. So I need maybe an array that has many strings that I can loop over. Grab the first string, do the thing to it. Grab the second thing, do the thing to it. So this is a container type thing. JavaScript also has something called an object. And an object is something that has a key. I'm just going to give an instance like name. And it'll have a value, Joe. It can have multiple key value pairs, right? I can say age 21. I can keep going. This thing can have thousands of attributes, okay? So in JavaScript, these two things right here are, I'm going to say, kind of container-based. And I mean container-based because this contains many things, and this contains many key value pairs. So it's a way of aggregating information. The information that you're aggregating are these data types. Like this is a string. This is a number. Okay? So we'll cover arrays today. You'll see what an array is, and how we get things into an array, and how we get things out of an array. That's the goal. So I just wanted to talk quickly about final project ideas, you know, kind of going through, or some people trying to like point you in the right direction. We haven't met about it. Let's meet. Let me see. I think I might have shown this already as part of, maybe, I think we did this. Oh, yeah, I'd shown this last week. You want to animate stuff like, you could read through this and figure out all the animations. This isn't so hard. I did show it. You can go through it. It's a really good article. It'll tell you how to set up a list and if you wanted to add things. Really easy. This thing here, it's pretty crazy. I saw this on CodePen and I thought, hey, wouldn't that be crazy cool to build that, right? But that's not even something you're ever going to consider. That would take me forever to build something this complicated, okay? It's only got this amount of lines of CSS, and I think the majority is all here in these keyframes. Let me see. I don't know if there's JavaScript in it. I'm just trying to see. Is there JavaScript? No, there's no JavaScript. Okay? There's no JavaScript. There's not a whole lot of actual HTML code. There is CSS, like this is CSS. See the style tags? These style tags mean that this is CSS. So it's really, in all honesty, all CSS generated. There's no real HTML in here. It's being created over here. I'm just saying it looks cool. You look at the code and you're like, that's not a lot of cool code. Maybe I can figure that out. I have to look at some of this stuff. I've never seen this little change thing before. I know animation, I know perspective. How to use those all together to create this, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even spend my time trying to figure it out because what am I going to do with it, right? Yeah, I kind of want to live in it too. It's kind of wacky. Little hearts are coming out. It's kind of cute, but keep it practical. Whatever your project is, keep it practical, rounded, and simple, okay? What we're shooting for is an MVP. So what is an MVP, right? Minimal viable product. But what does that mean in the terms of our class? What is a minimal viable product for us here? What do you think I expect to see? Responsive, maybe a navbar, a little bit of JavaScript, just a little bit of JavaScript. You click on something, you got a form, you captured somebody's email. That's enough. This thing doesn't have to be like full-blown website doing crazy things. You don't have to do that. It can be just as simple as something like, let's say, here's an idea. Aaron, talk about your project, just real quick. All right? So Aaron has an idea, really simple. This is going to be some sort of image, right? This is going to be an image. It's going to be a GIF, but there's going to be other things down here, little GIFs. The idea is like for music, to help people promote their music. And the idea is either going to be to click on this, either to click or to drag. Drag and drop, right? And we haven't covered drag and drop. We're probably not going to get to drag and drop, but that's a jQuery library, and you could figure it out. You Google it, figure it out. Otherwise, we click. If we click, then this thing changes, right? If this is image A, or GIF A, or GIF B, or GIF C, or GIF D, where there are images that will be GIFs, if I click on A, this turns to A, right? The other idea is that there's going to be something here that slides out. So if this is our page, right? The minute this thing gets loaded, there's going to be some sort of div over here that's outside. You don't see it, but it will be there. There's going to be a div possibly sitting there. We just kind of talked about it. Possibly sitting here, outside of the viewport, right? This is the body. This is the whole body. I don't see this thing, but it's there. Once it's dragged in, this div is going to move all the way in and take up that space. And then you're going to see the GIF play. The GIF will play. And it'll be here over the screen. The GIF will probably have maybe an X once it's moved. You know, you'll see an X, and the X will allow you to get rid of the GIF when you click on the X, guess what happens? The GIF moves out of the way, right? That is MVP. That's all you would need to do. Doesn't have to be crazy. It's a nice, cool idea. You get to watch a GIF play. You click on images. You can make it responsive, make it focusing on that. This thing slides out. Any ideas on how to make that happen? How do we get something off the screen? How do we get something back onto the screen? How do we do this transition, right? Because this right here are transitions, right? We know how to do transition. We just do transition all 1 second. You got a transition. How do I position this thing off the screen?
You said like the Z index or something, so that it's placed off screen.
Not the Z index.
Why?
Position absolute.
Position absolute, right?
Top of the body.
Okay, so this would be position absolute. What property are you going to use to get it that way? Position absolute doesn't move it anywhere off the screen.
Use top, right here. No, that set it to the other side.
Yeah, I mean, position absolute would position it there at 0, 0, right? That's your default behavior. How do I get it all the way off the screen to the right? Okay. This is its right, right?
Oh, right.
So if I do right 0, it's sitting right there, right? How do I get it off the screen? Okay, something may be negative, right? If I want to, we could do right, okay, and then give it, if right is 0 here, would negative right, or would negative right maybe move us this way? I don't know, I think right would move us away, so negative right would pull us off, right? So whatever the width of this thing, so the width of this, right? Say that thing was, I don't know, 500 pixels, I would do negative 500 pixels. And the thing is off the screen, you don't see it. And then when you click on something, this thing changes and we give it, it goes from this to a right of what? 0. And then it comes back, okay? And it's just a matter of you doing this. How would you reassign this right of 0? How would you go about doing it? Click event, and then what? Like when it's done, it's like, oh man. Like now that you see this, you're probably like, oh yeah, that's right. You can do that. Click event does what? Allows you to do anything, right? At that point in time, you can make the decision. How would I go from the default CSS to some sort of custom CSS? What would I do here? So you could either change the CSS attribute, 2 ways to assign this. Either change CSS directly, right? Okay. Or add a class. If I add a class that has this, it moves it over. When I click on it to get it out, here, this is an event listener also, and that event listener could maybe remove the class, right? And the thing slides out, because the minute you remove this, it goes back to that, right? In jQuery, to remove a class, it is remove class, and then whatever the class name is here. To add a class, it is add class, and whatever the class is. Okay? Given a weekend, I bet you could build something out like that. I give you a whole weekend and you could code for a couple hours. I bet you could build that out. There's not a lot of complexity with that. That would suffice. That would be an MVP. Okay? So, I don't know what's going on there. Consider when you're building your project. It doesn't have to be crazy. It just has to demonstrate that you know HTML, CSS, you want to apply responsive because you want to be part of this mobile first, and you just want to have a little JavaScript in there. A little bit of JavaScript, that's all you need, okay? That's MVP. I mean, if you do have any questions about MVP, and you're like, well, is mine MVP? Shoot it past me. I'll let you know if it's too crazy or not. I just want it to be manageable and doable. So conditions, let's hit these conditions. Conditional statements is what they're called, okay? So it's really control flow. In order to decide what a computer is going to do. Remember, a computer doesn't know anything. It only knows what you told it to do. A program is only as intuitive and smart as the person that writes it. So if the program doesn't do what you want, then guess what? You didn't tell it to do the things that you really wanted in a way that it knew how to do it, okay? It determines what chunks of code are running, you know, control flow, cook dinner, eat dinner, like, sometimes these slides drive me crazy, they're so basic. Some of the control flow mechanisms that we have done is this. How does the function give us control flow? How does it do that? How have we been using functions? It's like 2 weeks now, functions. Function, function, function. Okay, true. That's what we're doing. We're packed. So to run some code when I initialize an event, right? Okay. So the function packages this code and sits there and waits. It's kind of control flow, right? I'm not doing anything until you tell me what to do. If you click on the button, I run. If you don't, I sit around and wait forever, right? Computer has no idea of like time. And so that's what happens here. Square is the number of the function, right? Our functions were like, I don't know, click white button, click green button, had some code, we clicked and it did, right? We all eventually wrapped all of those click events into one click event, into one function, right? For a little bit of efficiency. But that's what would happen, right? Oh, that's the events, okay. When I said that there is different ways to do control flow, there is this kind of if-else. You know, we've all seen like charts and diagrams, PowerPoint things, or, you know, hey, if they made the decision, did you make the sale? No, call them up again and make the sale, got it, right? Other conditional logic that could actually run something like this, could run multiple things. Based on what the condition is, this thing could execute multiple things at one time. This can only execute one thing. Once the if is met, that's it. It stops. It doesn't need to think anymore because it hit a condition. But some of them can run multiple things. Here's a condition that kind of loops. Go down here, loop back here, loop back here. Well, how many times do I loop? While the condition is true, keep looping, right? Like if I tell my son to clean his room and he comes out and I go in, it's not clean, what do I tell him? Go back and clean it. He comes back out, it's not clean, what are you gonna do? Go back and clean the room. We're gonna keep looping until the room is clean, right? Until the condition of the room being clean is met, you're gonna keep doing it, okay? So we're gonna use this if-else control flow logic to do this, okay? Again, just use the alter. We do it all day, every day. If it's true, else, right? So that's the basic logic. We're going to get into it now because I'm not really big on going through the slides. We like to code our stuff here. Okay, so do I have something simpler? I wanted to see if I had a more basic if, or we're just going to jump into this topic. Yeah, looks like we're just going to jump into this. Right. So I'll slack out the starter code. Okay, here's the starter code. It's kind of what we were doing yesterday, right? This time, I put all three of the dogs on the page, okay? Just to kind of go back to how to use a select. Clicking on these things does absolutely nothing. And so we need to figure out the conditional logic. All right. Before we can before we figure out some of the conditional logic here, I'm going to walk you through just the basic process that we're looking to do. If I say let, I don't know, user choice is equal to, which one do we want the dog to be? I actually went to like a pet store the other day. I saw a bunch of huskies. Oh man, they are like the most beautiful dog. Blue eyes, like crystal clear blue eyes. It's like you fall in love just with their eyes. So I'm going to say husky. Cool. Husky is the thing. All right, that's my choice. Now I would run this basic kind of conditional logic. Now we also know that we have two other dogs, okay? The user could choose dogs, right? I'm just making an assumption that I chose the husky. And so the conditional logic would be this. If whatever our condition is in here, I'm gonna write the structure and then I'll let you know, run the code block, okay? This is our if, this is how you write a condition. So I'm just gonna put some notes here and say if, and I'm gonna just put here the condition, what's the condition? And then the curly braces would be the code block, right? Now these curly braces are familiar, right? Where have we seen these? Where have we used this before? In a function, right? The function has had those curly braces. That function, curly braces, is the code block. Code block is here, same thing. So we have to ask, what is our condition? Well, the user chose something, right? So I would ask, just like I would intuitively ask, if the user chose husky, do this thing. So how do we say that in code? We say, if the user choice is equal, because believe me, husky, let's do something. Here I'm just going to say console log user chose, chose, right? 1-0 indeed. Husky, right? We're going to see this if I go to developer tools. Oh, I'm going to comment this line out because we see an error is coming here. All right, what does this mean? What does that error mean? Update HTML is not defined. Right? We haven't made this function yet. So for the time being, I just won't have that running. We'll just comment that out. Easy enough, right? User chose, okay. Just when the user chose it, right? Right. Need to reconnect. No? All right. User chose the husky. Awesome. Easy enough, right? All right. Well, don't we still have to like decide what if they didn't choose husky? Well, what if I put here user choice, I don't know, what do we have? German Shepherd? I don't know. I'm going to say German-Shepherd. That code won't run. Let me see if I can run it here. I'm going to clear my console. I'm going to save it. Nothing happens. If I refresh this, the console won't have anything here. Why does it not have anything in the console? Because this condition is not true. This is a false condition, right? The user did not but the user did not choose husky. They chose German Shepherd. Okay? German. Okay. So what happens if they don't choose the husky? We need additional logic. This is an else if thing. If they don't choose this, else they'll choose this, possibly, right? So when it comes to evaluating multiple conditions, what we're going to do is put in else, if, and here say user choice is equal to German Shepherd. Then we're just going to console log that. So I'm just going to kind of copy paste the console log and say user chose German. You can put whatever you want here. Shepherd, right? Save it. Let me see what's going on. I mess up my if statement. I missed that. German. I did it again. See? Did it twice. Yes. German. All right, let's see. That shouldn't have changed it though. Did I misspell it up here?
Yeah, in the HTML it's definitely.
I'm going to do this because I can't spell anymore. I use everything just fixes my spelling, and I intentionally just mistype stuff now. I don't really care, and then I just go back and I'm like, fix it, autocorrect. I don't know how to spell words. I still get there and there misspelled. It's just how my brain works. So user chose German Shepherd with one O. All right. So once again, what's happening here is this is the condition. This is the code block. Here's another condition. Here's another code block. All right. Our assumption, though, since we only have 3 things, can we make the assumption that maybe the user didn't choose anything, right? Or let's just do this. I'm going to add another else if condition. Once again, user choice is equal to, what's the next one we have? A Labrador. A Labrador. Just going to go here and say Labrador, so I don't misspell it. Conditional logic, console log, hey, user chose a Labrador. Okay, and I'm going to change this from German Shepherd to Labrador, and then we'd be able to see what happens here, right? User chose Labrador, right? In the console here too, user chose Labrador. That's the last thing, okay? What happens, I'm going to clear this. What happens if the user chooses something that's not there or something we don't have for, what if I just chose select? Now, select isn't being met here, right? User choice is not Husky, it's select. Once again, because we have select as an option. So when they do the drop down, we're going to make a decision. User did not choose German Shepherd. User did not choose Labrador. Nothing happens here because there's no matching anything, right? There was nothing to match. In an if-else statement, there's one last thing that you can add. The last thing that you can add is like a default. Well, if nothing above is true, how about we just run this code block here? And here I would run the code block and say console log user hasn't made a decision yet. Should run. So you think I got to refresh this in order to run? That's odd. The terminal. Oh, I'm missing. See here, it says I'm missing. Let me get rid of this. I just want to say I think I'm missing a paren somewhere. Yeah, missing a parens after the argument. So let me go here. Oh, I don't have the last single quote there. All right. Don't see it. I think I have to refresh this. Let me see.
Is it because there's another quote in passive? Like, does that make a difference?
Oh yeah, that does make a difference. Let me get rid of that. There you go. This is where the whole double quote, single quote thing really comes into play. User hasn't made a decision yet. Okay? We meet this condition. If it's true, we run it. Else if we run this. Else if we run this. Else, there's no more conditions to match. We run the last possible thing that we can run. The else isn't required. The else is just a default if you want something to happen during this thing. If you don't want anything to happen, then you don't need the else. Okay? I'm going to just put a note here that else isn't required. Just, hey, what do you want to do if this other stuff doesn't work, right? So it's meeting a condition, okay? This returns either true or false, and then the code block runs. This will return true or false. If it's true, code block runs. Same thing. Else doesn't run a condition, else just runs. That's all it does. Okay? So, now that we know this, now that we have our conditional logic, can we incorporate that into this to make the decision now what we want to see? Bet you we can. Just get it? Dogs. All right. Let's incorporate this. I'm going to add this function, right? This function doesn't exist. The update HTML does not exist. So I'm going to create a function called update HTML. That's how you create a function, right? This is going to package. So I got this change event. Why is it a change event? And we have different kinds of events. We have the events that we've learned have been click events, right? Change events. What was the other one we did yesterday? The other day. Submit. Okay? These are all events. There's like, you know, I don't know, 10 more events that we can work through. Mouse over, mouse out, key press down, key press up, different events. This is just an event that's matching this dog. So we did this the other day. We did it a different way, right? We just had one image. We didn't have multiple images. I'm just changing it up to show you all of the dogs that are there, which means if it's like this, we have to do something about removing some of these, right? Instead of having one image that we update, we have to make a decision. If you chose one, then two of these need to go and the other needs to be set up. Okay, just a different style. Maybe you'll incorporate that style into your project. So we have the dogs, which is here. That's our select. So I've chosen select. It has the thing. Awesome. How can we now get the value that was chosen? So I'm going to say here, I'm going to take let user choice. Let's take some of this code. So let's do this. Let's take all of this code right here. I'm going to take all of the code that we wrote, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to put it inside our function. Okay? And we have the code, we have the condition, and let's kind of work with it. When I copy and paste, you see how the code is not properly formatted? See these curly braces? They should not be directly in line with the function. The function contains things, and those things should be tabbed over, just like HTML, right? You wouldn't write a div that has an H1 and put them all in the same vertical line, right? That wouldn't be good. See on the right here, over here? If you click on the drop down, you can say tidy.js. And it will tidy all our JS, move everything over, and make it look nice. And it didn't do a huge improvement, but it did like tab all this over. Okay, and that's what we want. We want it to visually look good. So when I look at your code or you're looking at it, you know where something is nested and where something ends. Makes it visually easy to look at, right? Okay. So user choice isn't going to be a hard-coded thing, right? What is user choice going to be? What's it going to be? When I drop this down, how do I grab the value from the select? Okay. Dot val. Walk me through it. Okay. We could do select. So there's two ways to do this. There's only one select on the page, so we could do select. It has to be jQuery regardless. We can't just do that. Like we can't just have the string select because now it's just a string of text. We have to have $sign jQuery. I'm going to target the ID of dogs, right? Once again, I could have put it in a variable up here. Here I just decided let's grab it as a change. I'm going to use it again. Once again, when you start writing your code, you might be like, hey, let me refactor this since I grab it. And what should we put here? Dot val. Correct? Right? Awesome. I'm going to just make sure there's no errors with my code, right? I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to refresh just to see that there's no, oh, it didn't save it. So I'm going to make sure my code's saved. Save. Sweet. All right, I get no errors. That's what I want. I want to just choose Husky. Look, user chose Husky. User chose German Shepherd. Labrador. And when the page refreshes, user hasn't made a decision yet. And so we're going to show all three pictures because the user hasn't made a decision yet, right? There's a possibility the user might go through these and be like, select. I don't know why they would choose select, right? They may select, and if they choose select, we need to give them all three pictures again. They need all three pictures, okay? Okay, what we're trying to achieve is this. This is the ultimate goal. Okay? Same thing, Husky. Whoop. Just got to fix the image. German Shepherd. Whoop. Labrador. Select. That's what we're looking to achieve. Okay? And we're almost there, right? We're at least at the point where we can use our conditional logic to make the decision on which you chose. Now that I know which you chose, we would have to go ahead and do what? What do we do? How do I get rid? So here, once again, stuff that you know, I just have to like elicit it out of you. All right? I'm going to go here. Let's take a look at the HTML. I'm trying to remove the images and show one image, right? So the action is this. Get rid of all the images and show me the one image. That's my thought process. Get them all out, then show them. How would I do that? Okay, so maybe dog choices remove class? Dog choices, doesn't that remove everything? I mean, if you remove dog choices, the class, that would just remove some styling. These divs right here are the ones that contain the dog images.
I was just trying to think of a way to not have to target each individual one.
Okay, so good. I don't want to target each individual one. I want to use classes because classes target multiple things, right? So if I have 1,000 things on the page and they all have the same class, if I gave them a property of what to make them disappear? Correct. And so if I target all the elements with a class of dog and I use the what property to make them all disappear. Now remove class, but display none, they all go bye-bye, right? They all disappear. And so my logic is remove them all and then show the one that you want, right? That's the ultimate logic. Now, I know in this code that you've clicked on a choice because this function only runs when this thing is activated. So I already know at the very top here, the first thing that we could do right here is remove all of the dog divs, right? How do we remove all the dog divs? Well, let's see the common denominator of this. They all have a class of dog. Dog, dog, dog. They also have unique classes, German Shepherd and Labrador. Right? Why do you think I gave them unique classes also? What do you think we're doing with the unique classes? Background image. This assigns the background image. This gives them kind of standard CSS. Maybe the width and the height are the same. Maybe the image properties are like object fit, cover, background image, yada, yada. All right? So now that I know that I'm targeting all the dog classes, how do I remove them here? How do I do that? Allie, how do I do that? Allie's like, what? What the hey? Don't ask me. You're right, Allie. We do dog. That is exactly correct. Dog. How do I apply a CSS property? And then I just type the CSS property name, the value. I did get none, and they will go bye-bye, right? Or they should. My logic is sound. Husky, oh snap, they're all gone. They will stay gone because we made them gone. They all have a display of none, right? If I go to the HTML here and I take a look at the elements, I'll put the code back. If I go back here, I will see they all have, remember when I said if you see style attributes here on the element, this inline style, that is a clear indication that JavaScript is probably happening? This is a sign of JavaScript getting its fingers in there, okay? Awesome, so we made them all disappear. How do I make the Husky reappear? So I don't need this console log anymore. It was useful because we know that it works, but I don't want to keep having these console logs. So I'm going to just get rid of the console logs inside of the ELF statements for now. Okay. So what do you think we do on line 8? Sweet, right? Husky has a class of Husky. So not only did I use the class of Husky to give it a background image, but now I can use the class of Husky to target it in JavaScript, and I can say dot CSS display what? I want it to come back to me. Please come back, Husky. Your beautiful blue eyes. Well, display block. If we went display none, display block brings the thing back. So here, if I do Husky, Husky comes back, right? If I do German Shepherd, nothing happens. Labrador, nothing happens. Select, nothing happens. Okay? I'm going to save this. What I want you to do is I want you to fill in these gaps right here. I gave you line 8, you give me line 10, you give me line 12, and can you figure out what line 15 would be if I want to see all the dogs come back? Okay? That's all I'm asking. The structure's there. Like half of it's copy and paste, you change a little bit of text, and that would be it. Okay? Bless you. I'm putting here a thumbs up. So give me a thumbs up when you figured out that logic. All right. These numbers are coming in. Coming in good. Yes. Need some help. There's no. Heather's highly skilled. And she got a job. She just landed a job. Feeling pretty confident. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I should have waited a bigger moment. All right. Is it crashing? You guys are crashing? Oh, curious. I'm just curious. Mine's not crashing, so I don't know. You want to send me yours? You want to send me yours, Maria? I just want to see if it. Okay. I had my browser crash this morning. Did anyone do an update today, like Mac updates or something? I did an update last night. Yesterday, yeah, I did. I finally did the install restart, and I was working. Okay. Yeah, this isn't one of those issues we had the last time with the anchor tag. It's not happening. There are no anchor tags. There's nothing. It's pretty basic stuff, but I find it odd that it would crash. But the fact that multiple people are crashing, I find that a little bit strange also. You just can't handle the images.
Like I was typing dot.
Yeah, mine.
Okay. Yeah. When you get the error, just shoot me exactly the error. You can take a look. All right. Is it still crashing for most people? Crash, crash? That is odd. Here's
So they're all working except the German Shepherd.
German Shepherd is right. German Shepherd. You didn't spell it again, right?
I'm copying stuff.
Shoot me yours. Let me see yours. All right.
So think about your
Okay. Just take a look at one problem. It looks like 9 figured it out. It's just crashing. I don't know. I've done this one last class too. I never had any issues with this. So let me just take a look. Allie's having problems with this. The German Shepherd. Husky works. Labrador works. Select works. But German Shepherd doesn't work. I'm going to look at errors. There are no errors. When something like that happens, it's usually a typo or something. So I'm going to immediately go to where I think it should be. Is this spelled wrong? Yeah, it's spelled wrong. So if you go into the HTML, you'll see, yeah. Yeah. So it's that. This should work, right? German Shepherd here. And German Shepherd there, right? It should work. German Shepherd, bingo, right? That's it. So what's that? Yeah. It's right down here. What? Except for which one? Oh, select right down here. Here's the code. I just added all the code. In the select, I'm going to get rid of this else. In the else statement, you choose the opposite of what we did here. This was to get rid of all of them. But if they didn't choose any one of those options, then we have to give them back. That's our logic. Get rid of them, give them back, base this on user choice. Okay? So I saved it, and if you open it up, the starter code, you would say, I'll leave this. It's all there in the starter code. Cool. Once again, we kind of did the select. This wasn't about doing select, but this was about kind of walking through the thought process. Okay? Sweet. All right, 7:22. Why don't we take a 5-minute break? When we come back, I'll give you a lab. What's that? Oh, my computer's gonna die?
Yeah, you're like 14%.
Oh, snap. Snap. Get that. I always forget. It's the first thing I do when I get it. Like, put this thing.
Yeah.
Because different words are spelled differently in countries,
Yeah.
the word color is spelled in the UK.
Sure.
That also affects things in CSS, HTML.
That's a good question. I don't know if there's a standard. I'm going to assume there's a standard way of doing CSS. I'd have to take a look. I haven't come across that as a thing. Oh, you know what the error is coming from when you start typing? When you start typing, watch. Watch up here. I'm going to get rid of this. Just stick around. I'm going to get rid of this. Now watch. You're not doing anything wrong. Okay? Watch when I just start typing. It should have errored out. It's not running right now, but when you start typing stuff that doesn't make sense to JavaScript, this should have errored out by now. I'm surprised. If I refresh this, I should get an error, and I'm not, which is really, oh, you know what, here. If I do something, I'm gonna get an error. Oh, it's just the else. All right, so I have to do this. Yeah, it's weird. A lot of the times when you type down here in JavaScript, if the full code hasn't been written out and the browser runs it, it's like, hey, you didn't finish writing. I don't know what you're trying to do. That's what I think is happening. Yeah. What? I do. And in any country, there's only one, right?
Also, I just tried to do color with you to change.
It didn't work? Yeah. I don't think, that's not understood. So you can't go into CSS and be like, I'm going to target something else, because that won't work. So it may be a universal thing, depending. That color in regards to HTML and CSS is COLOR, right? You have to know, remember, like, the internet started here in the United States, right? They created, you know. What's that? Oh, could be. Spoke English. Do they spell color? In England? Oh, okay. All right. Then I don't have the answer. Then I'm answerless for that. I'm going to say so. There may be in other languages, you may be able to have some sort of interpreter to do that. I don't know. I've never written in any other language besides English. So you could go to like CodePen. I don't even think in CodePen you can maybe see Spanish. Like, yeah. It doesn't, right? Yeah. It's coded, from what I understand, it's coded in English everywhere. That's as far as I know. Yeah. I'm just looking for like.
According to this Wikipedia article, there are very specific non-English-based.
That's the same thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know, there's going to be some sort of workaround or something, but I.
There's Chinese Python.
Okay, Chinese Python. Yeah. We started it. Yeah, not that that really makes a difference. Who cares that we started it, right? Doesn't really
I think it's more of a universal language to take. It's easier to just code it
matter. If you're American in English, sure, then it's really easy.
Well, just for like more people speak English globally.
Well, maybe that's the case. A lot more people around the world speak English, so maybe that's what they said. There's a common language there. They can write in that common language. Sweet. Am I losing everybody? What? I gotta be honest, I don't know, unless it's something to do with the images in CSS. I'm just referencing Cloudinary. What's the error when do you see any error messages?
No, it just says Chrome stop responding. It closes.
Huh.
After you make it an inhabit, put it on Chrome.
I don't know, that's really odd. Because usually if we're all trying to pull the same images, I don't think that wouldn't crash Chrome. Chrome's just like, I can't get the image. That's too bad.
Mine happened when I was trying to switch images.
Okay. Oh, clicking on the drop down?
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe just using too much white.
Yeah. Going full blow. All right. Let's do the lab. I'm going to assign the lab. I think that was 5 minutes. All right. I'm going to Slack out the lab. This should be familiar. Our good friend, City Picks. All right. We did this. This was a lab the other day. And so here we're targeting city type, which means that should be what? What do you think city type is that it has a change event? It's select, right? And then we call the change background function. I'm changing the name so it's not consistent. Here's the function change background. I put a few things in here to kind of help us out. City is equal to this dot val. Let me see. So we got city type there. Then I got city. I just want to make sure I didn't mess this up. So you know what? I'm going to change this because this isn't city. Oh no, it is. Here we go. Let's train it off. Remember, do we remember this? Yeah, the last thing. So inside of this, if I was to just do this, just so that we could see what's happening, I'm going to console log. This is this. This. Keyword this. Introduce this last class. I'm going to go to Developer Tools, and I'm going to drop down, go to NYC, and look. Look what it gives me back. What does it give me back? What is this thing? Right? It is the whole select. It's actually giving me the whole select. It returns the thing that you touched. I touched the select. Select is this. This is the thing I touched. Okay? In this context, we don't really need to use the keyword this. I could have targeted city type again. It really doesn't matter. I'm giving it to you because we covered it already, and I want you to get used to it. This represents the thing that was touched. The thing that was touched was the select, so it returns back the whole select. And because it's a select, I can grab that value. I grab the value, whatever the value is from the drop. I grab the body because I'm changing the background color, right? Background image. Let the current class equal to whatever the body class is. Okay, so the current class would be that. Okay. So you're going to use conditional logic here, okay? Conditional logic. Using if, else, and the else if, so I'm going to extend this to say using the if, else if, else conditions, because that's what we did, compare the value returned from the city variable to each of the class names that correspond to cities. If we go into CSS, you know what we're going to see? A bunch of class names. NYC, SF, LA, they all have background images, right? If I look at the select here, so I want to show you the correlation here, dot NYC, NYC, dot SF, SF. There's going to be an LA, an ATX, and a city down here also. If I grab the value, I know the class to add, right? If I click on NYC, this value is returned back. If I add that value as a class to the background, then the background turns that particular class, right? So you're going to run through the conditional logic. If the condition is met, then apply that CSS to the body. Here's the catch. Don't forget to remove the previous classes. Otherwise, you will only be appending city classes, and the last one appended takes precedence. We saw that happen last week, right? It was like last class. It was like NYC, then SF, and then if you went back to NYC, you didn't see NYC, you just saw SF. The last class applied takes precedence, okay? So you're going to do that, okay? You can look at your previous solution. The solution from last class has some of the code that you can work with. Adding classes, removing classes, it's all in there. So by all means, take a look at something you did, and you should be able to work that out. So I'm going to set this as, I'm going to give it 20 minutes. We need more time. Click on thumbs up when you're done. Okay? Just put the thumbs up. Click on the thumbs up when you're done. Sure, yeah. Oh, did I send this out? Did I send it out?
Yeah.
I slacked it? Okay, sweet. Sometimes I forget to slack. You know what that is? That's telling you that your, so here, I'm just going to see if it's happening on mine also. So yeah, so what happens is the message is this: hey, mixed content loaded over HTTPS, but we requested an HTTP image. See that URL up there is HTTPS, and if we look at the image defined in CSS, right here, you see how it's HTTP. I think I'm going to try just changing it to S. I don't know. I'm just going to make sure S works. I don't want to do background image with an S and then it doesn't work. I don't know if it's going to deliver it over S. It may not work. No, it works. So in here, we can get rid of that error message by just putting S, SS. Once again, it'll work. You just don't want to see the error message.
Yeah, but so even though I cancel log, it doesn't show up. Sometimes it doesn't like happens when it doesn't show
Oh, so then just get rid of the error messages. Always get rid of the error message, then do the thing again, and see if you're looking at new errors or warnings, or you're looking at old errors. Okay, so that tells us which image was it. You can put the S. So go into CSS, find the image, put an S right there. There you go. You keep going all the way down. You just put an S there. You just keep putting S's.
So it's not going to cancel log until I get rid of the error message.
Yeah, so get rid of, what we want to do is get rid of the previous error messages so we know that this is a new error message and you didn't resolve it. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't think that's going to be here because we're not using this really. It's just a warning. This isn't an error. An error would have been read. So,
Then, should my council log show up?
where's your console? Okay. So we're saying console log. This is this. And you're saying you can do the drop down now. Yeah, true. All right. There you go. You have to click on something because the console log is in the function. The function packages code. Additionally runs. Okay. Gotcha.
Crash.
I'm server. This is why I never did. No, I'm kidding. What you're doing right here, what they've already done in CSS. So instead of, what I'm saying is, what you're doing here is you're trying to put this code into the class for NYC. But that was already there in the actual part of the CSS. So instead of it, like a better way to go about it would be try and find the class that is my C once you add it to your body.
I do, I'm not really sure how to do that.
Yes, because if you just put one, it's like you're assigning to a variable. 3 is the, you can use 2.
Yeah, those type of too.
You can use 2, but that's more bendy. But when you use 3, it's like the content matches and so does the type. You use 2 JavaScript should edit. So I'm applying class to the body instead of trying to. Because this is exactly what you have. It didn't CSS already. You're just like, in the DOM, you're adding the same text in the end.
Still crashing? Ooh. What's going on with the images? Try changing the images in CSS. Put an S after HTTP. Just see if that changes it. I don't know why it's crashing. You have S's? Yours is still crashing? Yeah. I've done this before. Like this lab is something I've done before, and I haven't had any issues with it. So it's my first time. You did it in Safari? That's it. Like I'm like, what are you talking? That's crazy talk. Safari. If it does do that, then I would say, yeah, open up Safari, like just to stop the crashing. I don't know why Chrome is crashing. It's not crashing on mine. It's not crashing, right? Is it crashing for everybody? Is there anybody who it's not crashing for? It's not crashing? There you go. Follow her example.
Mine wasn't until yesterday.
All right, I'm just saying. I don't know why, but if it's open it up in Safari then, or if you have Firefox, open it up in Firefox. We did install Firefox, right? Didn't we do Firefox with Grid, or did I just demo Grid in Firefox? I might have just done that. I just demoed it? Okay. So open it up in Safari then, and best that I can say. I just slacked out the link to download Firefox. I'm so used to Chrome. That's what I use. This is like my thing, but Firefox is also an awesome dev tool. It has awesome developer tools, and it's got the CSS grid kind of layout. It's got more CSS grid functionality. So that may help with what's happening, just having a different browser. I really don't know why Chrome is crashing. Stop crashing? Okay.
I was getting the mixed,
HTTP and HTTPS. And what I think,
no, I don't know about this, but it's mixed content. Error.
you still getting it?
Yeah.
It's mixed content, but it's usually HTTP versus HTTPS. Yeah, HTTP. Mixed content in the URL is HTTPS. So, that's probably what, that's probably it. Right? All right.
It's weird, because all, actually, you know what, it wasn't it was crashing when it was HTTPS, and now it's not crashing.
Oh. It's like I really want to solve it, but I'm like, I don't really know what to say. Like the thing is like breaking it up. Or, okay. So what do we got here? Let's take a look and see. About 4 more minutes. No one clicked on the thumbs up, so I'm getting an idea. No one solved it. If you solved it, click on it so I can get a heads up. I stumped you again?
Yes.
You didn't get it? Oh, serious?
I'm not sure if I have it. The picture's just not coming up.
Okay. So let's get it started. I'm gonna do this. Here's our big thing, right? If the condition, so the condition is here in city, right? City is the variable. If city is equal to the first thing I want to check, NYC.
You don't have to put a dot for that.
Nope. If you console log city, right? So once again, it's like your expectations. So I'm going to do this. Hey, let me console log and say, hey, this is city. So I know what to expect. So I'm going to go here. When I'm getting this mixed thing. This is just a warning. This shouldn't break it. But I'm going to go, where's my drop down here? I go NYC, and look. This is this, because we wanted to see this. This is city, and it's not giving me back anything. All right. So let me see why it wouldn't have given us back anything. City type, select. And it's odd that it did not give us back something because this thing is so annoying over here. It should have oh, you know why? I said this is city, but I never put what it was. That's what. All I did was write the text, this is city, but I never said give me the value of city. So now, I'm gonna run this again. I'm gonna get rid of my console logs. I'm going to run it, drop it to NYC, and I should get the city as NYC. If I drop this down and I get SF, I should get the city as SF, right? No dot, because it's just returning the value that is inside of here. This value is where it's getting, right? So I console log. Now I'm going to say, hey, I know that if we grab city, what do we have to do? Well, I'm going to say this. Body dot remove class. This is a carte blanche, like get every class out of there. But then, hey, body dot add class NYC. Okay? If we go here and I say Bloom, New York City. That, you know what's funny is when I hear that's exactly what you type, it's my exact code, and yet if it was, I know. It's the same thing now, right? Else if city is equal to, what's the next one? SF, I think. Now all you got to do is copy and paste these two and make a one change here to be SF. That's it.
Hit save and then it crashed.
Copy it. It used to be
Okay. If it works for two of them, it's going to work for all of them. I'm just going to add this else statement here that will then remove any classes from the body, just so that if I go to New York, oh, what happened here? Oh, I think I just had what you had. Ah! No, you did it to me. Your voodoo. All right. I don't know what, now I'm stuck. Everything, my whole thing is like Chrome. I'm gonna go to, what I do is I'm gonna go to activity monitor. I'm gonna go to, oh, it already did it. Open, reopen them all. Yeah, it's really weird. Restore everything. Yeah, I don't know why. Oh, I lost it all. Yeah, send me time. I don't really want to type this all out. Sure.
Why don't you put like the dot before and
You put the dot here.
yeah, why don't
Okay, what's returned from this? So put a console log in your term. Put a console log in console log city. Console log city, and tell me what you see as the return value. Okay. Copy. Okay. Now remove class. The value that you're going to see returned is just plain old NYC. There's no dot. And that's because we are getting the value from this. Does this have a dot here? It's all straight up text, no dots. I mean, dots are text. That's what we're getting back. That is what is returned from this. This returns these values. These values don't have dots because they're not classes, they're just text. They're text that I gave exactly the same name as the class, so when I add the class, it gives it a class and it puts a dot. No, value's not a class. A class is a class. That's a class. This is a value for an option dropdown. Okay? Yeah, because that's how you write CSS. In a CSS file, this is how you target a class. In JavaScript, when I add a class of NYC, watch what happens here. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to the background. Let me go to the body. Here's our body, right? Here's the body. Doesn't have a background, doesn't have a CSS anything assigned to it, right? Now watch what happens when I select NYC. You see how it adds a class of NYC? And in CSS, you target classes using what? There you go. You don't see the dot here.
Oh, so in CSS we have classes that are not created in HTML.
Yeah, there's classes that I never assigned in HTML, but we're using them as part of our logic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's our logic. Okay, yours still doesn't work. Okay. It's the exact same thing, right? I mean, it's always the exact same thing.
My lunch is the background.
All right. So let's go to the next topic here. I don't want to run out of time. Topics. Conditional loops. I did have, if you are interested in more practice with conditions, I have bonus labs for like refactoring the Mars lab that we had done. We're not going to do it. Again, we don't really have a lot of time, but the Mars lab here, if you look at what's up here, do you see any opportunities for refactoring and for more efficiency? So many. All right. I'm going to collapse this and I'm going to collapse that. What looks redundant here? We're not going to do it, but I'm just showing you because we have covered this. Right? We built this. We did efficiency with color switcher where we wrapped up every click event into one click event. Right? We ran one function. Here, I grabbed two elements. I added two click events. I have two functions. Does that seem like a lot of work? I mean, I got two more buttons to go through, so that means another two variables, another two click events, and another two functions. That to me is not efficient, okay? We're not gonna do it, but if you compare this to the color switcher where we did do and wrap it all up, you would be able to work out the efficiency for this, okay? I'm just saying, if it's something you wanted to do at some point in time, by all means. If we have time, maybe we can go back. Okay, I'm gonna pass that other one. I wanna get into the loops, okay? So you know how to use the bare minimum conditional logic, right? If, else, if, else, else, if, and then else, right? Something you will use, and you will use it quite often, okay? What about loops? Once again, I'm back to these looping constructs. Some of them, like an if-else, isn't necessarily a loop, it's just program control flow. If something exists, do this other thing. But other things are program control flow, but are also loops. Keep doing the thing until the thing is true. Keep doing the thing until the thing is false. I'm sorry. Keep doing it while it's true, but the minute it's no longer true, stop doing the thing. Okay? So, say I wanted to do this. I had this function that prints numbers and it console logs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I asked you to write something like that. You'd be like, yeah, I could do that. And I was like, hey, just hot off the presses. The client wants us to console log it 100 times. And you're like, yeah, I guess. I mean, I could copy and paste that and put the numbers in there, but that's going to take me a few minutes. And I'm like, well, wait a second. They want it done 1,000 times. And you're like, I don't know. Now you're getting crazy. Like, am I going to keep, you're going to paste, I'm going to be pasting all day, right? You're paying me good money to copy and paste. We're not going to do that. That's not efficient, right? It doesn't scale easily, right? What if I wanted to print 1 million numbers? Okay, there's a better way to do that, a looping construct. So this is a looping construct, and we get rid of our beautiful little MVP. Okay, I always have a marker in some pocket. A looping construct. Here's the keyword. For. That's the keyword. For. And then we're going to have this long, not a condition, only to the if it was a condition. We're going to put some stuff in here. And the stuff that we're going to put here is we're going to initialize something. Right? Okay, then I'm going to have a condition. And then I'm going to have something called an iterator. I'm going to iterate up or down. The iterator can go up or the iterator can go down. Okay, either way. So, initialize. I want a loop. So, naturally, what do you think? I want you to do something. What would be your question? How many times? Right? How many times should I do the thing, right? Awesome. So the computer's not really smart. It doesn't know. And you're like, how many times? 10 times. And it's like, all right, so what number? So when I say do it 10 times, what number do you start counting at? You go from what number to what number? 0, right? Or like 1 to 10. Because that's how our brains work. You don't go, all right, so I'm going to start at 5. Why would you start at 5, right? That's not how we think. We start at 1. If I tell you to do it 10 times, you start at 1, you go to 10. Computers don't know where to start. So when you say do it 10 times, the computer's like, what's my starting point? I kind of know where you told me to end, but I don't really know where to start. So the initialize tells it where to start. Okay, so I'm going to say the initializer here is I'm going to set a variable. The variable could be whatever you want, but semantically, it's almost always I. You're going to see I everywhere. What do I want it to start? I want it to start at 0. You're also going to see I set to 0. Okay? So I, in this case, is 0. Better markers. Okay? And then, we're going to put our condition. And the condition was, keep going until you hit the number 10. Okay? So I'm going to say, hey, I, while you are less than 10, right? That makes sense. That's what we say. Hey, keep doing this. Did we hit 10 yet? No, you're still less than 10. All right, keep doing it. Now we know what greater and less than, we know that, right? That's just intuitive. Cool. We have that. Then we have the iterator, so that the computer knows how to keep track of the counting. Once again, the computer only knows what you tell it to do. It's like this blank slate. And so we say, oh, I plus equals 1. Okay? Move this up a little bit. Oh. Okay, and then, what do these curly braces represent again? The code block, right? We put, feels good when you get it. Like, I got this one, I know it. When he said it was, I'm sorry, I gotta get it this time. So, code block, that's where we run our code. Whatever it is that you need to do 10 times, do it there. That's basically a for loop, okay? So, I'm gonna write a for loop here. Where's my for loops, for loops, for loops, for loops? Demo. All right, so I was just gonna demo this, so I could do it really quickly, but once again, I could slack out if you wanna follow along. I was just trying to get everyone to, I'm gonna do it. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna code along also. Sometimes I'm just like, let me do it, let me demo. Let me zoom in. All right. So, for keyword, see how it's blue, right? Function keyword is blue. The let variable will be blue. Those are keywords. Okay, let I is equal to 0. While I is less than 10, semicolon, I plus equals 1. Code block. Console log, this is I. And in the code block, I run 10 times, but I start at 0 and I go to 9. Still 10 times, right? Doesn't matter if you start at 0 and you go to 9. 0 is something in JavaScript. 10 is something in C. 9 is something in C. 0 is something in C. 9 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 is something in C. but I did it 10 times. That's it. That's a loop. Okay? Now I put the loop going incrementally. So we started at 0 and went up to 9. But I can go in the opposite direction. I can say for, if I wanted to go from 10 or 9 down to 0, let I should be equal to what? Well, we're going to go down to 0, right? We're going to do it 10 times, so I'm just going to flip this. And while I is greater than, I don't know, I'm sorry, well, yeah, because we're going from 10. And so while I is greater, what am I? Greater than 0, yeah. I almost never go in the opposite direction. I minus equals 1. You foiled me again, Joe. You foiled me again. All right. So I'm going to run this. I'm just going to console log this one. I'm going to stop it from running. Let's see. And there we go. 10 all the way down to 1, right? We started at 10. Now we're going all the way down to 1. We did it 10 times, right? Awesome. For this, I'd have to do something like, if I wanted to be 9, I would say, well, I is 9, and this was -1. Let me do that. And then let me get rid of this and watch. I want to reproduce the same thing. I want to reproduce this and that. So if I get rid of this, there we go. And so here's our results. 0 all the way, oh, this just stops at, did I do this wrong again? I is greater than, and it is greater than. I think something happened here in the code.
Please let 0, 0 is 1.
Oh, I said, yeah. So this was, oh, yeah, I didn't get rid of the, yeah, so I want to do 9 because we want to go from 9. All right. So here we go. 0 up to 9, and then from 9 to 0. I'm just trying to reproduce the pattern, right? I want to produce the same pattern in order to show you exactly what's happening here, okay? So going up and going down. And if I want to make 0 my last number, then I have to say that when I is greater than -1, right? Keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay. So looping over numbers is easy. A lot of the times, though, I need to loop over a certain number of things, but I don't know what that number is, right? So if I'm looking in my closet and I pull out boxes of things, I don't know how many things are in the box, right? Right? If it's like, here's just a box of miscellaneous stuff that's been in your closet forever, you open it up and you're like, man, there's so many things. How many times am I going to have to go through each one of these things, right? So an array is that box of things. And if I don't know how many things are in the box, then I don't know yet how many times I need to loop. It's easy to do this. It's easy to give it a hard-coded number, but a lot of the times when you're looping because you're given a set of things and you need to do something with the things themselves. That's the most important. Rarely do you do it like this. Rarely is this condition an actual hard-coded number that you know ahead of time. A lot of the times, it's not. It's the number of things inside of this array. That's how many times you have to loop, okay? So what's an array? So I'm going to create an array. I'll just say, I'm just going to say, I don't know, our first array. And I'm just going to put in the letters A, B, C. Okay? That's it. Visually looking at this, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to Developer Tools and do this. Just because it'll be a little quicker and easier. I won't have to run it. So I'm going to do this. And if I do our first array, I get the array, right? How many things are in the array? 3 things, right? You could coincide the number of things with like count, right? The count of the things are 3, right? What if I said, hey, what is the of this? If I was trying to tie it into something. If I have a div, and I ask you for this versus that, what is it? Right, dimensions, and this is like width and height, right? We know what those are. Now, if I gave you a piece of wood and I asked you this, what would you say that is? You wouldn't say the width. Length, right? Okay, I'm just trying to associate. Like, these dimensions, depending on what you're comparing, are called two different things. This is still the length of something, but in the world of CSS, it's the width. This is the height, right? That's how you differentiate horizontal length from vertical length. An array doesn't have widths and heights. It's kind of this one-dimensional thing, so it has a length. There's a number of things inside of it, and it has a length. So if I do this, our first array dot length, I get the number, right? If I get the number, I know how many times to loop, right? So here, I have the array. I can do this. I still need a starting point. Let I is equal to 0. While I is less than array, hold on a second. Our first array dot what? Length, right? Because I just showed you it. I plus equals what? And then do something in here. I'm going to just comment out these two console logs so they don't take control of everything, right? I'm going to take this for loop, and I'm just going to take it down here. Once again, I'm getting tired of going up there and doing that. Let me run this, right? It says that it's undefined because I don't have any code inside of this for loop. So let's do this. Console log. All right. How many times did it run? 3 times. Doesn't matter that it starts at 0, okay? But it does matter that it starts at 0. It's very important that it starts at 0. You don't know, it's like I feel like I'm losing all my marks. All right. It's very, very important that it starts at 0 because this array, right, stores these things based on their position in the array, right? These are positions, right? It stores them based on the position. The first position, you guessed it, is 0. The second position is 1. The third position is 2, yada, yada, yada. All right? So this represents the element's position, okay? Another name for it, AKA, is index, or its index position. A lot of the times we just kind of write, hey, what's the index of the element? What is index position? Okay. And we know what indexes mean. You see things. We know our brains are like, oh, it's at index this, right? If I was looking through an index catalog, which no one looks through anymore, right? Don't have that anymore. So if things start at 0, you can see why it's really important when I do these looping constructs that we start this at 0. You see the correlation? That if I want to loop through an array, I have to make sure I grab the first thing in the array, which is why this right here is almost the standard thing that people do when they do for loops. Because a lot of the times when you're looping over arrays. And if you're looping over arrays, then I have to make sure I grab every element in the array. So I need to make sure 0 is present inside the loop. If it's not, then I don't grab the first element. And that's pretty important, right? Grabbing all of the elements in a loop is pretty important. So how do I grab the element? So I have this array. When I just do that, the array just returns the whole array. I want the first thing from that array. And this is how you write it. Right? You just have to believe me. Bracket 0, bracket gives me the first thing. Bracket 1 gives me the second thing, right? I mean, you already understand the pattern. Bracket 2 gives me the third thing, okay? So just know anytime you're like, give me the third thing, I got to reference 2, 1 less than the thing. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to this array here. If I want to loop and see everything in our first array, and I need to put a number in here, what's the number? Well, what's the thing I put inside the brackets right now? No, I can't hard code numbers. Right? This loop is going to run as many times. There's 3 things in the array. What is keeping track of the numbers? Remember what I console logged here. What did I console log? Console log what? We just did it. Yes, we just did it. Take a look at what I console logged. What did I console log here? I. Didn't matter what direction we went. We went ascending, went from 0 to 9. If I went descending, went from 9 to 0. I console logged I because I is what's keeping track of how many times. So if I is keeping track of how many times, wouldn't it make sense that I could just give it I? I don't know, maybe it doesn't make sense. Okay, I don't know why it did includes. Here, I, without one bracket, there we go. Now, I'm gonna run it. Oh, I don't know why that happened. Something's fishy. I'm gonna copy this and put it in. Oh, but it should be 3. It should have been 3. Because our first array has 3, right? So our first length should be 3. We're starting at 0, and this thing right here shouldn't do that. So I'm gonna go back up here. I'm gonna do this. I'm trying to run it 3 times. So I'm gonna go back here. Our first array, our first array. Let me save this and let me run it. Let's see what we get. Oh, you know what? I didn't console log it, so we don't save it. Console log our first array. Yeah, Isaiah, this is what I meant by you'll see error messages. I wasn't finished typing the JavaScript code, but it ran. And so it's like, hey, you forgot this thing. And I was like, but I wasn't finished writing. So this isn't something you worry about. Okay, but look what I got. A, B, and C. Because the first time our first array ran, this number was what? What was the number? 0. The second time is 1. The third time was 2. Right? And I showed you that in order to get these elements out of an array, I would do our first array 0, right? That would return A. Just going to copy this. Our first array 1 will return B, and our first array 2 will return C. Okay? So I'm taking this, knowing that I need a number here, and I'm taking it and I'm putting it here, and the only thing that I'm taking out of here is the hard-coded number, because I need it to be dynamic. So once again, I don't know how many times I want to run. If I add more things to this, D, E, E, I could put whatever I want in an array. I could put the number 1, the number 2, I could put the string hello, doesn't matter. And what we're going to see here is all the things in the array are output. Array is a generic container box. You can put whatever you want. You want to put anything in there, you can. I can even put another array. Goodbye. and it'll output goodbye as an array. It doesn't care. It's like having a box that has other boxes and boxes inside of it, right? The same thing. If you were moving, you take your shoebox and take several of them and put them in a bigger box, right? It's the same thing. The shoebox is a container. It's like an array. It holds things. And the big box is a container and it holds shoeboxes that hold things. That's what's happening, okay? Does that make sense? It's almost like it makes sense, but when you got to use it, it's going to be like, what? How do I use it? All right. That's why I did it by myself. Like, this wasn't a code along so that you can watch. This stuff is not, once you start getting into the job, you already know, like doing the JavaScript is a lot harder to wrap your head around. Trying to do it and remember it is not easy. I'm just doing it and saying, oh, I did it, without really knowing how to do it. Okay. So that's that. We're going to go now. Now we will do, no, that was our code along for dogs. Loops and conditions. What do we got here? Our favorite color switcher. I know, right? It's crazy. Who doesn't love the color switcher? The color switcher. I was showing this to my day class today too. And I was like, I do this thing for everyone. All right. Color switcher. What's missing from our color switcher? Colors. I don't have colors. So I don't have colors. What do you think we're going to do? Add colors. How do you think I'm going to store the colors? In an array. How do you think we're going to loop over the array? There we go. There we go. All right, we're all on the same page, right? It's exciting. You got to make it exciting, otherwise this stuff is just boring. So I'm going to slack this out first. No one asked, but I will slack it out. Here we go. And on line 9, I have a comment that says, create the array here. Create an array of colors. I don't care what colors you have. I showed you how to create an array, and that's how you create an array, right? This is an array. I would like you to create an array called colors, call the array colors, and put some colors in it. Okay? That's all you need to do. An array called colors is equal to empty brackets and colors as strings of text. Blue. What? Let's. We're not looping yet. We're creating the array first before we loop. So, I don't know, you can put whatever colors you want. Red, green, yellow, pink, doesn't matter. But it has to be a color, because if we try to apply hello as a background color, that's not going to work. Awesome. So we have colors here. Awesome. Now, I want to show you that something works here. Like, I'm going to add a color. Orange. Oh, because I spelled it, right? Orange. Awesome. White. White. Just so we can go back and we can see that. Because I mistyped it. I didn't know what to do with this wacky name, orange, and so we have white. I want you to see that it works, okay? The code that you have enough code here to like, there's even event listeners, look. Oh, not on this white one. There's event listeners and everything. All we need to do is for loop and create the things, right? That's all we got to do. So I have the colors, and I'm going to say, let's create a for loop and create us some colors. Colors, right? All right, now I know, I misspelled it. It's colors. That was on our thing. All right. You had to get the inside joke on that one. All right. All right. So now we're going to create this for loop. For let I equal to 0. And we do 0 because it represents what? The first thing in the array, while I is less than what? Colors.length, semicolon, I plus equals 1. I know what you're doing. You can't do plus plus. Don't shake it up. Don't shake it up. This is actually best practice.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
No one has ever told me.
Yeah, there's an Airbnb style guide for JavaScript. Airbnb has the style guide for writing solid JavaScript. All right, and in here, I'm going to try to find maybe a for loop. Is it going to show me? Or iterator. I'm just looking for something that would have the iterator. Oh, here we go. See here? See how they do it? I plus equals 1. And they will tell you that that is the best practice. Okay? I'd have to search through this. Somewhere it would be like at the very top, it would say here, iterators or looping constructs. I don't know where it is specifically, but in here it says I plus plus is not the way to do it. I plus equals is the way. Iterators and generators, right here. Iterators and generators, it might be here somewhere. I don't know. All right, I don't want to. It's there. You can look for it. You just got to take my word. This is the Airbnb best practices. Now that we have this, what do we want to do here? Okay, so there's a thought process here. I don't have anything but a color, so what do I need to do? All I have is a color, a string of text called color. It's the same string of text that we turned into that. What's the process? Well, console log is just going to show me the thing. I want to make the thing appear. I want to take this string that has been waiting to be a color all its life, and it's going to be a color. Okay, there's some stuff there. So I'm just going to say, hey, you know, if we're brainstorming, I'm like, all right, I think at some point in time I have to append. Sure, got to get the thing on there. What else? What else do we need to do? We're just brainstorming now. I want to build my project and I want to make things appear. I don't really remember how to do it, but I know I got to append something on the screen. So if you have to append something on the screen, what does that mean? To append something means you have to perceive it with what? Having the thing. If I don't have the thing to append, then what do you append, right? So in this process, I have to have, like, I don't know, create something, right? Something needs to be created in order for you to append it. What are we going to create? What is this thing again? Well, what is it? Yeah, that's what they were the last time. I haven't changed the element itself. So create an li. Okay. Set its BGC, its background color, to the color from the array. Append it to the UL. Okay? That's all. Those simple steps. Do you think those simple steps are already in the code? Or do you think when I type in pink, that just magically happens? Like you open the box of cereal and out comes the magic, right? Is the code in there? Where do you think the code is? Can you find the code? How much code is in here? Not a lot of code there, right? Walk it through. What's happening here? There you go. What's happening here? Okay, this is that dynamic click thing, right? Buttons that weren't there will get the click event. What is this? Okay, all right, cool. So none of this is yet creating the thing, right? I'm going to go down here. User submitted. Okay, we're getting closer. What does that do? Doesn't refresh the screen. What is that? Grabbing the, what do you type? Right, it's grabbing the input box. This grabs the color that you type in. This does sets the background, and we finally got to what we're looking for, right? Is this what we're looking for? These 3 lines of code do the thing that we need to do. So what if I copy these 3 lines of code and I just put them there? What's happening? Oh, okay. So we have to make one change here. Yeah, what's the change?
Well, you need to do the CSS stuff. You need to apply that to the. Okay, well that's it. Well, you need to make sure that you're pulling the iterator from the.
Okay. Yes.
I know.
All of that. I'm going to go back to the loops. If these were colors, would this represent the color at that moment when the loop ran? Red, then blue, then green. So how about we go here, and instead of where is color coming from? Well, color isn't really going to work anymore because that was part of user input. That was a variable down there. What if we change color to colors, bracket I, boom. Hit that one out, right? It's fun when it works.
I did it a little differently. I defined li as li brackets.css background.
Oh, you could, yeah. I'm always just emphasizing, you know,
Define it first.
yeah, just define it, get more practice.
It'll still work.
It'll still work. Once again, we could shorthand this by doing this, okay? You don't always have to define things. I think that should work. Would that work? Yeah. See how I kind of shorthanded it? Okay, is this gonna work?
You just do let
Oh yeah, now it doesn't work. You can't, until this thing is created, you cannot do this. But let's li equals, yeah, there we go. So we can kind of shorthand it. The same thing, right? Okay. Maybe we can even shorthand it like this. I'm just trying to see if there's other efficient ways to do this. Would that work? That works too. We've done it the long way from the beginning because you needed practice doing it the long way. We did it the short way the whole time. You would have written less variables, less functions, and you still wouldn't grasp it, okay? I can tell you that this stuff is not easy. My day class, we're doing React, and they've done React for the whole week and part of last week. And I was pushing the students today to be like, all right, we're gonna create this. What do I write there? And they're like, I don't know what. They've done this for homework for days now, and they couldn't tell me the syntax that they've written over and over and over again because they're just kind of following along and they're just doing, but they're not thinking. Until they like know what to write and think about it, then they can write. So That's why we did what we did. So here, now that you've kind of taken that step, let's do this, right? Shorthand, less code to write. You're more efficient now, okay? This makes sense what we just did, right? Feels good. We did this thing is good. Awesome. Now we know how to create things from an array, okay? We'd still have to, at this point in time, we're not gonna do it right now, but the logic would be when you do submit something, you wanna push it into the array and then have the thing and keep track of the thing. We're not really concerned with that. Right now, if we did add another color, the color appears and we still have the ability to do this. But if I refresh the screen, only the 4 colors are gonna be there because my code only knows about 4 colors. So you add more appear, okay? All right, let's take a break, 5-minute break. We'll come back and start working through the lab and it will not crash. The lab will not crash, promise. I hope the lab will not crash. I don't think we're using images for that.
I was choosing a trusty on iterators, and I'm going to trust you.
Yes, I++, that is crazy talk.
I'm sorry.
That is, no. A lot of people do that and I would have done that too.
All of my other teachers have done like this.
It's just the shorthand and that's what people do. But if you're writing for the Airbnb style guide and best practices, it's about consistency across the environment. If you start making little decisions with like I++ instead of I plus equals 1, then you start making other decisions and then your code is different than the way I'm writing code. And then we're like, I don't know, she's out sick today. I don't know what the hell she did. Like, why would she write it like that? That's just weird.
I'm going to find my own style guide.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be better than everyone else. So I'm going to support you in those efforts.
Can that be my final project, making my own style?
That would be an awesome idea. People have come in here and as their final project made an internal style guide for their company. And then they added some animations. Like if you click on this, you could see what the fonts would be. If you clicked on this, you could see the color palettes. So you have one page instead of like a scrolling page of like, here's our fonts, here's our colors, here's our buttons. You could click on things and make things appear and go away. That's a perfect thing to do.
I wanted to do, like, this kind of ask instead of slap and set to do our final.
Yeah.
If I wanted to redesign what I have, I'm inspired to do something else.
Okay. As long as your redesign you think you can do,
I know I can.
then do it.
I'm going to.
Okay.
I'm going to do it.
Apparently, I don't know if it really makes a difference if I say yes or no. I think you're going to do it anyway.
I have a question about this project.
Sure.
When we were using class, we didn't define what classes we needed.
Okay, so remove classrooms all.
Okay. So then, when I change it, why is it that?
Not yet.
All these other options.
Yeah. What'd you get?
It's only
A
remove
G.
the class background.
No, I didn't. Oh, no. Right?
Body has all these other.
Well, what are we targeting here? We're targeting the body, and it's only removing the class on the body,
Like,
not
yeah,
child.
well, the next one
I-
did, but like, finally.
Oh,
I
like,
just
body
like,
doesn't have.
ran out of time.
No, when we're using JavaScript to dynamically add.
I wanted to make class if there's no class discussion.
You can always get that.
So go to the comment
You
that
can
line,
set it to count your steps on the app.
and then go to develop tools.
Like a matches thing. Yeah. And if you reopen the app, add your steps. You might have to-
Make sure that we highlight the elements, you're highlighting the bottom.
I can't understand, I was gonna wait until like they had like that
Find the body.
catches something on, which is going to be forever.
Move
Oh
on.
man, I like the fairy types, because that's
No.
surprising.
Stay right there.
That I like fairy, yeah, that I like
Okay.
fairy types as well.
This
You
is
watch. See
New York, right?
Yeah.
New York's not here, but New York is there.
Well, I
That's
used
what I'm
to,
thinking
Alan
about.
just taught the Jew to, like, right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's seen that.
No, we didn't have to.
No, I caught it now, like, you
Oh,
said
yeah.
it.
Oh, yes. Well,
Look at it.
So now go back to New York. Why did that happen?
I like how, like.
Why hasn't New York changed?
You have time to. One of my coworkers,
If you did remove that section, that would not go back and go to LA. There's a, this is the first, go back to San Francisco.
Red.
Why?
I'm red. I'm blue. No one
I
said
need this line to remove.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, I like that.
Previous classes,
Well, we can walk around.
which class is causing you trauma?
Whatever we, whatever we.
The last class here.
I used to do my training.
So that's why it's
When I'm riding the train.
So you need to remove all of the classes so that the class that you want to apply is applied. That's why.
Oh, when you first started, you could practice it so that you could play without.
That make sense?
I know that how it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense how in our code we can attach a class to the body, but if you go to the development class.
That's because JavaScript is adding it to the body. So what you have is this, right? These elements exist here in a file, and then they're loaded here. So why does this have style?
Well, it's not really things that,
Okay. I added it via JavaScript. These things didn't even exist in the HTML. They were commented out. I dynamically created it. JavaScript is never going to edit the actual HTML file, but it can edit the HTML when it's loaded. This is like a mutatable thing. I can do whatever I want. So JavaScript can do whatever it wants to what's on the screen. Add, remove classes that never existed in CSS at all. Okay? All right. So, oops. Here you go. Is this the offense? This is not an offense. So this is not. All right. I'm going to get rid of this if else because it's not an if else. It is a loop array starter. That's what it is. That's my story. Okay. I just locked it up. Here's a to-do list, right? We got to-dos there. Now you have to-dos, they already exist, they're here. You see the structure of the to-dos, right? Structure of the to-do. We did this the last time too, right? There's an li with a class of to-do item. The span has the text. The span gets appended to the li. The li gets appended to the ul. That's how we created this list. I want you to create 3 new things, to-do things, and store them in an array. Create 3 separate strings based on content from the to-do list docs. You can either grab these things, write your own things. I don't care where the strings of text come from. Make sure it's appropriate strings of text, but whatever they come from. There's nothing in here that creates anything either. I removed that code. You need to create an array, loop over the array the amount of times that you have things, create a new li and add a class of to-do item, create a new span and add a class of item, add the text of the current elements in the loop to the span, append the span to the li, append the li to the to-do list. There is no bonus here because I removed all the code. There's really nothing here. This is not about click events. This is about looping. Okay? All this is. Get 3 things on it. Now I'm gonna have here's the color switcher. There's our little color switcher. Boom, boom. And there's the lab. Okay? Color switcher with an array and loops. And you need to take this and kind of fit it into there. Okay? There's a previous lab where we create things by using the input too. You can find that lab, you'll be able to do it as well. Okay, 20 minutes. I figured it out. I figured it out. What's that? I gave you a head start. Head start. Missing something? All right. I want to see if we can make it more efficient. Can I? Let's see if I can do this. Would that do that? That looks like it might work. Add class. All right. A little efficiency there. Add class here. A little efficiency there. I think I may be able to do that. There I go. All right. You got the solution right there. If you were stuck, you can take a look. The for loop? Yeah, the for loop, there is no, if you wanted to control when it runs, what's the tool we use to control when the code runs? A function. Yeah, we're not doing the input. This wasn't about, this was just looping through things. Yeah, if you wanted to do the button, you could work through the button, but this was. Oh, yeah, doesn't know what to do. There's nothing, there's no logic for this. The to-do button, there's nothing here. Like, and remember too, here it is. Let me see. I think it's that. No, still that. It's this, I think it's the action over here. Let me try to get rid of action, just see. We had this happen the other. Okay. You could, but you already know how to add a thing in a form, right? We've done that before. Yeah, so you've added something and you've added it here, right? Okay. Now you know how to loop over an array of things and create the thing too, right? There's the use case for this is this. What if the list, what if I'm going to a database and I'm grabbing your to-do items, right? So the practical use case here for doing any sort of looping construct over something that has things is you just opened your app on your phone. Your phone needs to get the data. Where's the data? Somewhere over there. You get the data. You still need to do this because your app doesn't yet have these things. This is still needed for that. You still need the functionality to add to do, there's no doubt. But this functionality is what's going to get the data when you get the data from the server and you have 100 to-dos. This makes those. Because you're not going to. Yeah, you're dynamically creating them. What I'm trying to do is. What you're doing here right now is simulating this. When you open your app on your phone or in here, there is not going to be hard-coded any HTML list items. Where do they come from? No, there's no HTML hard-code. There's not there. When you start your app on your phone, no, it is hard-coded there because what we're doing here is simulating. We haven't gotten to APIs yet, right? And an API is making a data call or pulling something from a database, right? When that thing gets returned from the database, it's going to be stored like this. That's how it's going to be stored. When it's giving to me a million things in the array, I need to loop over the array and create those things. So you know, I mean, I could have provided a bit more context as to what this is, but think that what we've been doing is all this static stuff. Like all this stuff was here. Maybe we commented it out at the beginning when we were learning jQuery and we manually created each one to learn how to create. But in the end, you will not have any of this. Like this won't ever be there. It'll be gone. And you will have to dynamically create those things on the fly by making an API call and getting the data. Just to give maybe some context to that then, let me just take a quick look. I want to see if I can get like an API to show you where this would actually be more practical in building it out. Once again, this was just like, do the thing because you will be using it. So, topic APIs, I'm just looking for one of my APIs to use. Let me just see. Where is my API? City Bike, here we go. All right, here we go. I'm gonna select this out. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought up the point, like why we're using this, because it's like, we're doing all this thing, trying to add something to the form, but it's not working. I just select out a URL. That URL, yours may not show it like this. Yours may show it like that. Does it show it like that? All right, because you don't have the plugin, right? I installed the plugin that shows it like this, okay? You will get to that when we get to APIs. What is stations? What type of data object is stations? An array. How many things are in this array? 845 things that did not exist on my app until I made the request and I got the data. How do you think we create those things on the page? Doing the loop, right? We would loop over this thing. And I mentioned that objects are ways to, are a container, but it's for a container for like a specific thing. Now look, every station is an object. I'm gonna loop over these 800 and something things and then create them on the screen. That's where the for loop really comes in. We're trying to simulate what it would be like to get that data and then loop over it, right? So without that additional context, it's important to know why we're doing an array, right? Seeing this is important. And this is the same for other, so if I show you something like, let me just see, deck of cards, draw. I don't know if that's gonna work. We can order character. All right, I'm gonna give you another API. Let me pull this up first. Here's a character. This is like Rick and Morty, okay? Select that out too. This is the Rick and Morty, and I get a character, Rick Sanchez. I don't know really Rick and Morty, but look at the results. The results are, how many things do we have? 493. Here's the array. Well, the array only here has 20, but look, it has things, and we would loop over the array and grab Rick Sanchez as the first thing that comes back. The second one is Morty Smith, and then we create characters on the screen. You create little divs, right? And they would be like, here's a picture of Morty's face and some info, and this is the, so if I wanted to create an app that had a list of Morty characters, this is how it is. So arrays are really important because that's how the servers are going to aggregate all this information and make it so they give us the box with the things and we just loop over the box and create the things. So all I was looking for was the ability to kind of like create the thing, loop over it. And that's why I left out all the additional code, you know, kind of like a challenge. Hey, you want a challenge? Like the code already is here for doing events, you know. Always a challenge. All right, let me go back to the thing, bakery. Here's our loops, right? Awesome. And so this was all we needed to do the loop to get these. If we wanted to, we could remove these three from the HTML, stick them in here, and we could recreate those things too. As many things as you want to create, you put into this array, but this is how the data is going to be delivered to us from our API call, okay? I did mention that if any were interested in like pulling data from a Google Sheet, you could store data into Google Sheets as your own like API. I'm just going to store a bunch of stuff, and you can make an API to pull that data and create an app based on all of that data. If that's something you're interested in, I have some examples on how to use that. That's not, the labs that I have when we hit APIs are not going to be Google Sheets. That's not what I have. I have other APIs like we just did. But you can do that, and it's not so hard to set up, okay? All right, so you know all about if else, or just really the tip of the iceberg on this, because I did mention there's other types of conditional logic. We didn't go into them, but there's lots of others. The for loop, believe it or not, there's other ways to loop. You learned the basic loop, but arrays have their own looping things, and there's like 4 other ways to do loops over an array. We're probably not going to have a lot of time to get into that. Maybe the next week when we do go over arrays, we might touch on that just a little bit. Okay, these are 2 really important concepts. Questions. What do we have for questions for this? Or is that all you have? Yeah. Think how you're going to use it in your app. Now, you're learning this JavaScript stuff. You're learning a lot of it. That doesn't mean you have to implement everything that you learn, right? That's like everything that you learned in HTML was more for the design, and I expect you to implement some of that, but you don't have to use grid. You could use flex files, right? If you're going to make it responsive, you probably have to use media queries, right? You don't have to use transitions, but you learn them. There's going to be a lot of JavaScript stuff that you're just going to be like, I don't really know what to do. Like, what am I going to do with this thing? You may not do it now. You may not need to do it for your app. But if you're going to pursue web development, you must. It's like a must. There is no, I'm going to do web development, but I'm not really going to do arrays. Like, then you're not going to do web development. If you must master arrays, you must master conditions and all the other conditional stuff that goes along with it. Okay? I mean, is there any specific questions about the loops, about this particular exercise that tripped up anyone? Okay, once again, you know, try to make it follow suit with what we were doing earlier. So it shouldn't have really tripped you up. I just wanted to really convey the array, the loops, and how to like get the thing from the array. That was this exercise, okay? Just in different contexts. So, before I give out the exit ticket, I'll just go over the homework. Continue to work on the final project. We only have next week and then the week after, right? So here is next week. I was going to start. I may move arrays up. I was going to do some jQuery animations because there's jQuery methods that allow you to do things like show, hide, fade in, fade out, methods that you might find useful, and you probably will find them useful. I don't know if I have long star, may, no, I don't have them here. Okay. I'll show you something next time, but these methods are really useful. Then we'll get into arrays and objects. Like I said, I might swap these. Arrays, objects, more in depth. There's a lot more stuff with arrays and objects. And you need to know objects because APIs are going to return stuff as objects and arrays, and they're using coordination. Second to last class is APIs, just, on a Tuesday, and I don't really expect you to be like, oh, I'm going to implement APIs by Thursday, right? But you're going to learn it so that you have a good understanding. And then the last class is really project presentation. So we don't have a lot more time. Next week, the following week, and then that's it, okay? So much stuff to cram and try to get in, and you can't get everything in a 10-week intro class, okay? So your homework, like I said, was going to be continue. Also, Free Code Camp has a section on arrays. Start working through the arrays, start going through that. This Animate CSS was just a tutorial if you wanted to look further into animations, right? This is a good tutorial on just like getting started, static animations, and working through using this particular library for animations, if you wanted to. I'm just looking for some of the animations. Animation delays, and once again, more stuff. Just read it, run it in the pen, like, I don't know what this is doing. Oh, look, like that. There's an animation, right? You're looking for other stuff, right? We just can't teach everything. And that's it for the homework. So the real deliverables, keep working on your project. That's what I really want. I want you to be successful with that. And that was it. And then the exit ticket. So Heather, in all her amazing developer-ness, slacked out the exit ticket. And that is it for today.
I did mine kind of like a way longer way, but I feel like it still should work, but it didn't. I'm not
Okay.
sure where. Do you want me to comment the rest of this?
Sure. What do you want to do?
This was yours. So.
Okay. All right, so I see new to do HTML is not a function. So I don't know, new to do doesn't exist anywhere. It's not a variable. You haven't defined it anywhere. It's not here, right? So you're like, hey, new to do, and it's like, what the hell is new to do? I don't know what new to do is.
Right.
So it would be span.
Yeah.
That's span. Just type span.
HTML and span thing?
Yeah, that should be. Oh no, here you go. Look, you already have the HTML. You have the class. Get rid of that line altogether. You don't even need that. All right. So let's see. There you go.
Oh. All right. I guess I just added some extra.
Yeah. So what do you want to do with it? What's a specific question right now? I mean, that's a big question. How do I get the whole thing in mimic? Look at the CSS. Is this what you're doing? Just that box? Is that what you're looking for? Just this box here, go back to yours. All right. You know, that image right there. Where's the image? Like, what's the HTML? So you got an image tagging, right? You tell me, what is that? Okay, who is it? Okay. So it's an image tagging, it's in there. So why is it not taking up the full width? Okay, so you have to go to developer tools. Highlight the image and tell me what's happening. Just the image. There you go. You tell me what's happening. What's happening? Well, there's all this space that's stopping this thing from being big. Well, what about the image? Highlight the image. So click on this thing right here and go to the image. There you go. Click on the image. All right. So you have this image. It's a div inside of this box, right? Can I take over real quick? Right. You have this image. This image is inside of this box. Okay. I'm going to target the image and I'm going to say width 100%. Big. Right? And now you want it to take over. This div has a lot of stuff around it. Look at all that brown space, like this, all that.
I don't know, I think when they run initially,
Yeah, you put a border, we have a border of 100 pixels.
oh, that's right. No, I'm gonna take that off. I put that there originally so I could see the box, because I didn't have it in the first place.
So now remove the border. Remove the border, so now the thing is there. So now you have to give it a height and width, right? So this div doesn't have a width of 100%. Now it has a width of 100%. You see? You have to be in developer tools when you do it. It's the quickest way to do it. Take a look at something, add the width. Okay? And just investigate. Now that you have that, see if you can reproduce it. If you refresh the screen, you're going to lose those changes. Yeah, so you got to remember what we just did. Yeah, exactly. Take a snapshot of it. What's up?
So for the final project,
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing my app that I designed.
Okay.
If I were to attempt to make this calendar.
Yep. You're going to need a third-party tool to do that. You're going to need like Bootstrap to put a calendar, right?
Wait, what is Bootstrap? It's another library, right?
It's a library? Yeah. Because the question is, you're going to make a real calendar, right?
What do you mean?
I don't know. You're going to just put divs up there, like emulate a calendar, or is it a real calendar? Can I choose a different month?
Oh, I wasn't going to go that complicated.
Okay. So what? Then you just tell me what's your intent?
Well, I was thinking, would it be better to make grid, a grid for all this, and then can use a loop to fill in the dates?
I mean, you could. Have you done this and this yet? What's the easiest thing to implement out of this? The calendar is not the easiest thing to do.
No.
Have you done the homepage and that yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Don't worry about the calendar. That would be the last thing.
Okay.
You want to do, show me the homepage. Okay. Focus on that first.
Yeah.
That's the easier one. Then go to the next one. Then focus on that.
Okay.
If you only have 2 weeks left
Yeah.
to implement those designs, how long do you think it would take you to make that design? How many hours do you think? The 2 designs themselves. I'm just asking, how long do you think?
Well, for me to create this page, I would have to do it within JavaScript.
No.
No?
To create that, you can hard code that stuff.
I know, but if I I want to make it clickable.
No, you have to make it clickable. I'm just talking about the design. If you created that design, no JavaScript, that page and the next page, how many hours is it going to take you to do that? Just the design, just the CSS, how many hours?
2 to 3 hours.
No, it's going to take you way longer than 2 to 3 hours.
Is it?
Yes. It'll probably take me a couple hours to get it down just right. And that's me, and I know what I'm doing. It's going to take you 4 or 5 hours to get both of those pages looking exactly the way you want, if not more.
Okay.
Okay? So that's what I'm saying, like 4 or 5 hours, you have 2 weeks. If you can get that done and meet that design in 4 or 5 hours, then we can like talk about and clicking on this and maybe sliding the thing over and seeing the thing, right? Just like I showed for
Yeah.
errands. That would be perfect.
Well, how do I can't hard code both of these pages?
If you can't,
How?
can you not create a div that has an image?
I know, but I can't have this page and this page active simultaneously.
No, you can't. You can't do that, and you will need JavaScript to switch between those.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, I'm just saying you can create the HTML for these 2 sections.
How does that work?
Okay, if I created the HTML for this,
Yeah.
and I made it perfect, and I do display none, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
But I created the HTML and I have the CSS. That's done.
Okay.
Then I go to the next one. I create the HTML and I got the CSS.
Okay.
Now we have 2 elements.
So
Right.
I display none for.
Exactly, then we do that today. We did display none, and then the dogs disappeared and the one thing came. Can you not do that with this? Can you not say when you click on the person button, this button,
Yeah.
this goes display none and the other one becomes display block?
Yeah.
You already have the tools, you know how to do it. That's the JavaScript. I'm telling you the HTML and CSS is going to take you hours to do,
Okay.
and then the JavaScript could take you just a couple hours to figure out. But there's hours involved there. The calendar, if you get to it, awesome. If you don't get to the calendar, it's not a biggie because there's tools out. I don't want you to also invest your time in a calendar